What's up, Havenites, and welcome to another episode of the Pull List. I hope everybody's having a good week. I know I've had a good week. I know my Stormfolio had a really good week. It is packed full. Almost couldn't get them all in there. But before we empty this thing out and go through these comic books, hey, if you like this type of material, if you like these type of videos, if you like daily shorts, if you like a weekly live stream, all you gotta do is click the subscribe button. It's free. Turn on all notifications. That way you get notified every time we post or go live, and you can be a part of this too. And in order to be a Havenite, all you got to do is subscribe. So let's get started. Like I said, it was a really healthy week for the Storefolio. I didn't think I was going to be able to get them all in here, to be honest with you. Absolutely packed full of books. All right off the bat, by AWA Studios, we have Sins of the Salton Sea. Another strong outing by AWA, another strong first issue. Basically, in this issue, we have two brothers that are getting back together to pull one final job. The deal is they are going to rob a truck that's supposed to have all sorts of jewels, and I think it was 50 million cash in it. They've got their crew together. One brother doesn't want to do it, another brother's doing it to retire. Ultimately, the entire crew gets killed. The cargo is not what they thought it was going to be. I think we're shaping up to be like another cult or something. AWA does those really well. I'm kind of hoping that somehow, some way, this ties into Devil's Highway. I think that would be a really nice twist. I think that would be really cool. But definitely a solid first issue. There's more than enough there to make me want to pick up another issue and keep going with it, which that's what AWA is really known for, at least in my mind. They do a really good job of giving you solid first issues, giving you just enough to say, hey, I need to pick up the next issue. And this was definitely not a disappointment on any level. I did enjoy Sins of the Salton Sea, issue number 1. We're actually going to go through these pretty quick since I've got so many this week. Next up, we have IDW Breath of Shadows, issue number 5. Lettered by our boy Justin Birch. Everybody that knows us knows that we're friends with Justin Birch. We love Justin so much. He knows he's awesome. But Breath of Shadows really does wrap up this entire series. There is definitely a Tales from the Dark Side vibe to these series. That's one thing I've said. Tales from the Dark Side, Twilight Zone. Jack is basically back. Is Jack really and truly in control? I really don't know. Even at the end of the book, I really don't know if Jack is in 100% control or if he's given completely over to this centipede god thing that is now feasting on everyone. And I thought it was really cool that this whole thing decided to go with a rock band because it would see thousands of people year round. It would constantly be able to feed, constantly be able to grow. This was just, if you're wanting something dark, if you're wanting, like I said, the Twilight Zone, the Tales from the Dark Side, things like that, even Tales from the Crypt. This was another good one. This was a solid end to the series. These series have literally been like 4 and 5 issues. So this one is completely done. Once again, it was a Birch book, so we had to pick it up. But I did enjoy it. Solid art, really good. It's just it's really hard to explain beyond that because it really does go deep into the human psyche and addiction and things like that. And the addiction, everything from drugs to being on stage. So it's just another solid book. Definitely not for kids on any level. For those of you that know me personally, know that my entire family reads. My daughter just blows through books left and right, and I would not. She's 12, and I would not let her read this book. So, as she fell in the background, she's practicing her ballet. Next up on the list, we have another IDW book. This is a one-shot. This one actually goes back a couple of weeks. I picked this up on the... Are you okay?
Yeah, my hands.
All right. I'm not even going to edit that out. This is real. We're doing this all in one take. We're pulling back the curtain now.
Thumb hurts though.
So, but I actually picked this up on the recommendation of Tom Price up at the shop, and I'm really glad that I did. Even though it came out a couple weeks ago, I still wanted to throw it in just in case some of y'all missed out on it. But we have by IDW, The Rocketeer. This was a one-shot. This was actually 3 stories in here. The first story is basically the Rocketeer going to look for Amelia Earhart. I was not expecting that to be like a. It was actually, it was a very sweet, touching story. It was really good. The second, that was my favorite one out of the three. The second story, what he's never called it by name, but you understand, it's basically the Rocketeer meets Indiana Jones, and it was done beautifully. This was a very. The third story is kind of a between the Rocketeer and Betty. It's just the two of them, really and truly. The third story, and it's more of like a narration, but this was really fun. This was good. I do recommend this for everyone that wants something kind of, different, a little offbeat. I'll be honest with y'all. I saw the Rocketeer movie in the, I believe, early 90s that Disney put out. I enjoyed it, but I don't know a ton about the character other than that. This was my first foray into it. So this was a really good issue right here. Like I said, it's just a one shot, so it's not like you're investing a lot of money or a lot of time. It's definitely worth the $4.99 price tag for the first story alone. The story where he meets Indiana Jones, that, like I said, he's only referred to as Professor as he's getting ready to give a speech. But we all know who it's supposed to be, and it was it was worth picking it up for those stories. Next up on the list, we have Star Wars Empire, issue number 1. Well, this is another one-shot. This is not what I thought it was going to be. It was a decent read. It was nice seeing another perspective and everything. Basically, he is a new recruit. He was forced into the service of the Empire. He decides that he's going to do a good job and he's going to go above and beyond, and he ends up seeing things that he's not supposed to see. The entire book pretty much takes place on Endor. It's just before the Death Star. I would say this happens just before Return of the Jedi, somewhere in that time frame between Empire and Jedi is when this should actually be taking place. My whole thing on this book was, and the reason why I picked it up was right here. It does say, what would you do if the Empire took over? I thought this was like a what if style series. I thought this was going to be like a what if type book. It's not what I thought it was going to be. So when it's not what you think it's going to be, it's a little disappointing. It was still a good read. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Like I said, it's worth reading. How about that? I'm not going to sit here and trash the book or anything, because I did enjoy it. My criteria on this one went from, okay, it's not what I thought it was going to be, to am I entertained? Is this a good 15 to 20 minutes? Yeah, it was a good 15 to 20 minutes. I enjoyed it. I've moved on. So if you want to pick it up and check it out, I don't think you'd be disappointed. It's just, I felt like it could have been a lot more. It was still good, but I just felt like it could have been a lot more. Next up on the list, y'all have heard me screaming for months that Darth Vader is the best Star Wars title going. Well, Darth Vader got competition now. Star Wars issue 35. This was an outstanding book. Luke is basically on this new planet. I can't think of the name of the planet's name. But he has met up with someone who understands kyber crystals and can help him fix the lightsaber that he has. One thing is, they wanted him to basically take a red kyber crystal and see if he can cleanse it. There's apparently a process where a Jedi can cleanse a kyber crystal, and that's what he was wanting done. But what happens is, when Luke goes to cleanse it, he actually goes into the memory of the kyber crystal. Well, he kind of gets booted out of it. I don't want to give a ton away, but he ends up with a clear kyber crystal, like a white one, clear one, however you want to call it. And he takes that one. Well, when he starts meditating with it, all of a sudden he sees Yoda. And he's talking to Yoda, and he thinks that it's visions and everything. Luke is still learning. He's still, this takes place before Return of the Jedi. He still doesn't truly understand what's going on. He's still learning the ways of the Force. He still can't control it. He's in this phase where the Force kind of comes and goes and leaves him, and he can't hold on to it at all times. Well, when he's talking to Yoda and everything, they're kind of sorting through it some, and even he's like, this is just a vision, blah, 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 blah. Well, when Luke leaves the vision, you still see it. You still see Yoda sitting there. And all of a sudden, Obi-Wan shows up. And it's basically, they confer, he is powerful, but he doesn't even realize that it was not a vision. He was actually there. He was actually talking to Yoda. But the thing about when he's done meditating is that clear kyber crystal is now green. What else was green in Return of the Jedi? So that's where the green kyber crystal comes from. For those of you that have actually read the now non-canon books that we pretty much grew up with, in that one there was Shadows of the Empire, and Luke does go to Tatooine and builds a new lightsaber, but it never really says where he got the kyber crystal, if I remember correctly. So I'm hoping that we still get that. I hope they at least pull that in from Shadows of the Empire. Now we know where he got the kyber crystal from. But he also keeps the red crystal because he still wants to work at it. He still wants to kind of purify it and clean it, which I thought was a cool touch. This is another one of those books that I've really been enjoying for the simple fact that the cover actually matches the story. So, that was really good. Star Wars has definitely turned a corner. The main title's been getting them better and better and better. I feel comfortable recommending the main title again and not just Darth Vader. Now, with that said, if the next issue comes out and they tank it, sorry. But as of right now, issue 35, this was a great issue. If you're not into Star Wars, if you're wanting to get back into Star Wars, you can pick up issue 34, then 35, and then that's really it as far as this little saga of the kyber crystals and Luke having to get a new one and get his lightsaber fixed. Next up on the list, we have Noctera, issue 15. I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. This needs to be some type of Netflix, AMC. It needs to be something. It's really good. Basically, we are in EOS, and if I'm mispronouncing it, y'all will be okay. I've told y'all, I'm a redneck from Alabama. It's my job to mispronounce stuff. So what they're going to do is the plan. They want to basically shut down EOS and release everything, release all the light, because M has a plan where if they can get to, it was a particular cannon, they can use that cannon to boost the light, draw Lux in for, use Lux, that is the light, to hopefully help them win this war against the big PM. I don't know if it's going to work. This is another issue where we get the little backstory and everything of M with his real mom, how she disappeared on him again. That has been kind of cool, the way that's been intermingled, and how he just became bitter and angry and everything. But Noctera issue 15, it fits right in there. I believe there's a one-shot coming next. Blacktop Bill is probably my favorite villain of any comic book right now. I really wish there was a Blacktop Bill special maybe a year ago, somewhere around there. I would like to see them do something like that again because I do enjoy that character. This one is actually not on the pull list for last week, or not on the pull list of any week. So this past weekend we had Con K in Huntsville, Alabama's local Doctor Who convention, and Kelly Yates was there. For those of you that watch Shop Talk, y'all know that we've interviewed Kelly Yates in the past. Super cool dude. Love him to death. He's awesome. I got to meet him and everything. Picked up a t-shirt, but he also had these books right here. And it's just called Artist Alley. It is basically him, and it's a sneak peek of Monster, Monsther, her. And so I went ahead and picked this up because there's several different stories in here with different artists and different one. And he signed it for me. So that's kind of, it's in the store folio for the week just because, it needs to be. Next up on the list, we have Death Dealer, issue 13. Death Dealer is the perfect Dungeons and Dragons Conan style barbarians wizards, witchcraft, everything. If that's what you want to read, you need to be reading Death Dealer by Opus Comics. This is just another solid read. Every single issue has gotten better and better and better. Not only building the characters, but building the world, building the story, everything that they've wanted to tell. But basically, in this issue, Death Dealer has made it out. He's got the boy. They are trying to get away. They're trying to get up into the hills to get to some of the other clans and everything to help them fight this war against the undead. But they also know that it's not just the undead, because back behind the undead is legions of demons. His brother is still after him. You do get a moment where you think his brother, whose brother's actually Pestilence, Death Dealer's brother's Pestilence, where you think he might be dead, but no, he's not dead. He comes back, and it's just a really, really, really good story that you can tell that McCain and Opus Comics and everybody that had something to do with this put a lot of thought into this. It's another one of those there's stuff in here that I would not recommend. Teenagers would probably enjoy it. Those of you that like Dungeons and Dragons and the things like that, y'all would definitely enjoy it. But Death Dealer has been a great read. Money well spent. $4.99 a book. I do not regret buying it. I've definitely enjoyed reading the Death Dealer series by Opus Comics. I've really not picked up any of the other books that they're doing in the Frazetta universe, but this one right here, you don't have to read any of the others. This one, standalone series, it's been great. Speaking of great, we have Fantastic Four issue number 8. We're still in Aunt Petunia's house. We're still working. We're still doing stuff around there. Basically, in this issue, Alicia and Sue Storm go to town to get art supplies and to get snacks, because Ben wants snacks. While they're in town, they end up in a store, like a general store. They get their stuff and everything. They end up leaving just to find out that the store was closed. They go to ask somebody, they're going to swing back by there. They go to ask somebody what time the hardware store, I think it was a hardware store, what time the store closed. And they're like, what do you mean? That thing's been closed for years. And they're like, no, we were just there this morning. They're like, no. Well, yeah, what happened to so-and-so? They'd never heard of this woman. Just like when they look her up and they actually call her husband, he has no idea what they're talking about. He doesn't even know why the hardware store has his last name. So there's definitely something going on. They get back to Aunt Petunia's. They go tell Johnny, hey, look, basically, we're about to Scooby-Doo this thing. We've got a case. Something's going on. We need to work it. Where are Reed and Ben? And Johnny's like, who? I have no idea who you're talking about. He does not remember them. There is a reason why that no one remembers certain people, and only Sue and Alicia do remember them. That's because Sue keeps a force field pretty much around herself and whoever's with her at all times, and it's blocking this memory thing. We do find out who basically has Reed, Ben, the woman from the hardware store, and all the other people that are missing. There is a fight breaking out. Basically, Sue and Johnny have got to go against Reed and Ben to save them. Once again, it's another one of those, it's character driven. You can tell that North is passionate about the characters. You can tell that he understands how to tell stories that the characters need. Is this world ending? No. Can this be easily stopped? Yes. It doesn't always have to be a crisis of the month. It doesn't always have to be the next great big bad. Fantastic Four has been solid reads through and through and through. Cannot recommend what North has done with Fantastic Four. If you've ever liked Fantastic Four, now is definitely the time to get back into it. If you've been kind of on the fence about, I was kind of tired of all that stuff. Look, we're only on issue 8 of this current run, and it's definitely worth it. It's been so fun to read. Next up, we have Dawn of DC Batman issue 136. So, Bruce is back in his universe now. He's been gone several weeks, and people thought he was like in outer space or something like that. But basically, Bruce is tired. Bruce is hurting. He's beaten. Batman cannot be. That is something that Bruce just, it kind of keeps getting repeated over and over. Bruce does meditate and go into his mind and talks to the other personalities, Zur, and locks him up and everything. And is, I'll deal with this. But Zur understands that Batman cannot be weak. This is not the last we've seen of Zur. It's definitely not the last we've seen of Failsafe. Bruce even makes a comment about how Failsafe is out there somewhere. He just doesn't know where he's at. Bruce doesn't even remember creating Failsafe. This was actually something that Zur did. And for those of you that are wondering who I'm talking about, Zur, it's really hard to explain. But in a nutshell, years ago, if Bruce ever did something or basically he needed to close his mind off, it's like Abin Zur or something like that would actually take over as Batman. It was a split personality that Bruce created himself. There is a cool moment in here where the little sensor goes off and Bruce sees that someone has broken into Wayne Manor, and he's like, look, I live in the brownstone now, but that's always home. I'm headed home. So, somebody's in my house. I'm going to check this out. Well, Bruce gets there, and it's not a burglar. It is all the Robins. It is Batgirl. It is Duke. It's everybody. They're there making breakfast like they used to when they finished a nightly patrol at dawn. And the reason why they did not tell Bruce was because they knew that he would tell them no. So they just kind of baited him in to force him to sit down and take a break and enjoy just a few minutes with his family. That was a touching part. It's really good. Chip Zdarsky, we can't say enough good things about Chip Zdarsky on this channel. We love what he's doing. There is a cool little backstory, a secondary story in here, and it was actually Bruce is working a case. He's reading some stuff. Oh, sorry. Yes, Catwoman is back. They're still kind of, they love each other, they don't love each other. I think we're kind of back to that. There's a couple of comments that are made. I don't want to ruin that. Bruce does admit that he loves her. He's always going to love her. That's all there is to it. They'll end up together one day. It's just going to happen. But in the secondary story, it was really cool because Bruce is working. He's sitting at the computer. He's kind of working a case, looking at some patterns. Alfred walks off, and this is a flashback story, so Alfred can be there in this one. And all of a sudden, he gets up from the computer, and he goes, and his voice changes. And y'all know what I mean when I say his voice changes is the little bubbles that come out of his mouth, their voice. It changes, and it's Zur's. Zur had basically built a bat cave underneath the bat cave where he built Failsafe. And this entire backstory is literally Zur training Failsafe on what Failsafe must do if Batman ever crosses the line and kills someone. The whole thing about Batman killing someone is if he does it one time and it works, he will never stop. He will begin killing criminals left and right. That's the big fear. But after the training session is over with, Zur goes back upstairs. Zur is Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne is Zur, split personality. And literally sits back down at the computer and he kind of starts talking and everything. And then it slowly slips back into Bruce Wayne. Bruce never knew. So that was a really cool, that was just a really cool backstory. And I've told y'all a bunch, I really don't like the secondary stories. But Zdarsky wrote this one. I thought it was very well done. He did a good job. He's doing a really good job with the human psyche on this. When Batman was in the other universes, he had to remember what fear was. And it wasn't that he had to experience fear. It was he was in a universe where the criminals, there was no one there to stop them, so they feared no one. So he had to become fear again, which I thought that was a really good touch of him getting back to his roots. Still don't really and truly have an explanation as to how the fake hand works, but maybe we'll get it one day. I'm sure he'll get his hand back somehow, some way. I don't know. Strike a deal with the devil or something. We know how comic books are. But next up, since I mentioned Devil, Daredevil number 12. Wow. Yeah. Was not expecting this issue. We know that we're only a couple of issues away from Chip Zdarsky finishing his Daredevil run. In this, in issue 11, it left off with Matt pretty much sits down and says, okay, well, there's only one thing left for me to do, and that's wait to die. Well, in this issue, Matt actually travels to Japan. And he goes to a cave, and there's somebody there, and I can't think of his name. But he's sitting guard at the cave, and this cave is supposedly where the Beast is to reappear. And Mephisto is referenced in the book, but I think now they're kind of referencing him as the Beast, maybe the true devil, the true Lucifer and everything. This is where he's supposedly supposed to appear. And I mean, I could be looking a little bit into it. It may just be the Beast Mephisto. But Matt has decided that his last act on this earth is going to be to kill the Beast. He's going to be done with it. Elektra shows up. She knows why he's there. But here's the thing. When she shows up, Matt actually has his own sword up and he's about to commit suicide. But not for reasons why you would think. His whole reasoning in killing himself is he wants to go to hell, face the Beast, kill the Beast, and free his best friend's soul. He's willing to sacrifice his own life for that. Elektra's going to do everything that she can to stop him. They fight. There's a really cool 2-page spread in there where while they're fighting, we get like a different scene throughout their entire history, kind of leading up to this moment of them fighting. Keep in mind, she's still his wife. She still loves him. He still loves her. But we're getting to the point where we have to kill this version of Matt Murdock. He does something, kind of gets a rope around her arm. Her sigh ends up in him. He uses her to kill him, which it becomes really sad because, she's holding him and he's dying, and she takes his helmet off and sees that he's cut out his own eyes. That goes back to issue 11. And she literally tells him, go get your best friend. Matt wakes up, but he does not wake up in the hell that we think he does. He actually wakes up in a boxing ring, and his dad is there. And you're just like, no, Chip, we don't need to be doing this. We don't need to be getting to these fields now. And we do. Matt talks to his dad, and he tells him that basically his dad tells him, get up. You're a Murdoch. We don't lay down. We don't quit. And he's like, Dad, why are you in hell? And he said, because my last sin was my greatest sin, and that was pride. I was not going to take a dive in front of you. That's why I'm in hell. I'm kind of paraphrasing all that for you. But he does something that I thought was really cool. He hands Matt the Daredevil mask. Not the helmet that we've seen him wear these, past so many years, but he hands him the actual mask that we've all known and loved, while we've read comic books. Matt puts it on, and he's got on his original Daredevil suit again. And his dad is going to lead him to where he can actually go and start going through hell to hunt the Beast and to free Foggy's soul. But as he takes one step into hell, his boots start changing, and it goes all up his body, and his entire suit ends up becoming like this black. It's like white with like black and gray accents and everything. And literally the last page of the book is, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this as the hand of God. And that's how the issue ended. And you're just, wow, blown away. This entire book right here, issue 12, I don't feel like I'm going out on a limb. And you're watching this after we've already had shop talk. I know you are. I'm sure Josh and I had a really good conversation about it. Go back and watch Shop Talk if you have not watched it, because we will definitely be talking about this book. And I'm going to say this: Daredevil issue number 12 is the perfect comic book. From start to finish, it was absolute perfection. The story, the drawing, the shading, everything about this book right here. If I had to declare a Shop Talk book of the year, this right here would be one of the top contenders. It was just that good. Just cannot. In fact, as soon as I got finished reading it, we were all texting about it last night. Just so good. But that's really all that I have for the week. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see y'all next week.